I tried as a new way. I'm gonna show you the tricks I know. Not getting tired of talking, so I made up a show right now. It's time that you made your mind up. And it can sound a little bit strange. Everybody is talking. You need someone ready to change. I will fight like no other every day. I won't stop like the others. I will stay. 'Cause it's the right time. I'm feeling alright. I'm flying higher. I'm ready to scream right now. Geeksvana. Don't miss any highlight. There's something you may like. Once I'm ready to fly. I'll tell her to do it right. So I'll tell her to do it right. Geeksvana. We're feeling alright. We're flying higher. We're gonna win tonight. We're here just for the audience. We're gonna show what you're going through. We wanna find you the perfect drone. There's no one else who can help you out. It's time that you made your mind up. And it can sound a little bit strange. Everybody is talking. You need someone ready to change. I will fight like no other every day. I won't stop like the others. I will stay. 'Cause it's the right time. I'm feeling alright. I'm flying higher. I'm ready to scream right now. It's better. Don't miss any highlight. There's something you may like. Once I'm ready to fly. I'll tell her to do it right. So I'll tell her to do it right. It's better. We're feeling alright. We're flying higher. Gonna win tonight. Geeksvana.
Were you dancing? Were you? Welcome to Geeksvana Live, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you're extremely well, and that our viewers over in the US and Canada, I forgot to mention Canada in the chat earlier, sorry, are enjoying what is the middle towards the end of your Labour Day. And I hope you're enjoying your holiday, which is a holiday weekend, which is fantastic. Got to relax, got to unwind. I hope those barbecues are sizzling where they can be sizzling. So tonight we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Normally with my live shows, they're a little bit hectic sometimes, a little bit certainly topic focused, topic heavy on a specific topic. So I don't get time to stop and chat to the awesome viewers that come in regularly in the live chat. For anything that you want to know, be that drone rules, drones, the channel, me, whatever you want to know, basically. And yes, people are asking, how personal can it get? It can get as personal as you like, frankly. But yes, now the idea behind this kind of show is that it will be a bit of a fun Q&A. I've also got a few viewer videos to break it up a little bit as well, for us to play out, and really just a bit of a chilled stream. These streams will have a much lower audience, but it's just me and you guys chilling out, having a chat about drones, getting any particular questions you want answered. We will do these once in a while, fairly regular, at least once a month, so that we can help get any questions answered and that type of thing. So yes. So as I say, I hope you're all extremely well. If you do have a question, tag at Geeksvana in the chat. I've noticed a couple in there already. Max has got his barbecue going. That's nice. Tag at Geeksvana so I can see them. I do have a few questions which I've picked out from comments recently. I tried up until about 3 months ago. So when I came back from being unwell, I tried my best before that to always answer every single comment. With the growth of the channel, with some of the traffic that we get on some of our videos, our mini 3 rules videos, over 70,000 views. So we haven't been able to answer all of the comments, which is a new thing. So thank you very much for being that active and engaging with the channel that much that we have that situation. But yeah, so some of the questions sort of have slipped through. So I've got a few of them to run through. And yeah. We'll get started with those when I press the right button. That is. Okay, so first up, we've got a question here from Christopher Harris, and he was looking at our UK drone rules in 8 minutes video. And this is a video where basically I attempted and successfully explained the UK hobby rules, the general rules, so for whatever drone you fly, within 8 minutes. Now, he says he feels a bit gutted. He has the old Mavic Pro, he loves it, but the restrictions makes his flights very limited as far as where he can fly. I looked at the Mini 2, it's probably the best direct replacement for what I have. It just has less features. Really unsure what I should do, sell it or keep it. Well, that's a really interesting one, to be honest, Christopher. I think it's... okay, I've got a new moderator in the chat. Fly Sky Drones, you don't need to worry about that kind of found language and that type of thing. So we moderate, but only if people are attacking each other, that kind of things. But yes, I should have told you that before the show. Sorry, you just blocked someone's message. So Varth, there was nothing wrong with your message. So my advice to Christopher Harris here would be, it is a little bit difficult because obviously the Mavic Pro is a legacy drone within the transitional period. So to fly it within, what's the actual weight of a Mavic Pro? Does anybody know? DJI Mavic Pro weight. So it's 1.62 pounds. So really, there you are going to be restricted exactly how you feel, Christopher, from the point of view that obviously you're over 700 grams, so it's obviously not going to get a retroactive C label for a drone that's what 2016, 2017 that it came out. So it's something that, yes, it's going to end up in the transitional period. Now that transitional period is going to run a lot longer than we initially thought. So gaining an A2 CofC could well mean that you could still fly that in congested areas with a 50-meter separation for a good number of years, so that would help you be able to fly that drone. But yeah, I mean, certainly if it's a choice of either or, of that or the Mini 2, then yes, I would say the Mini 2 is going to give you a lot more options, being sub 250 grams, because you don't need the extra qualification of the A2 CofC. In fact, you don't even need a flyer ID. It's a whole other question. But it also gives you, in congested areas, zero separation, so it's a whole 50 meters closer to uninvolved people, and you can actually fly over people as well. So I would actually suggest that you could very well sell the Mavic Pro and then go for the Mini 2, which would give you a lot more options here flying in the UK. One that came up in the chat already this evening is from Airless Mean, and he's asking if you reckon there could be an adoption for the FCC mode, or do you reckon we're stuck on CE mode here in the UK? Now, this is talking about range and in terms of signal penetration, signal power as well. And this has come up more recently with the Avata than perhaps with other drones, because the Avata, although I think it's 10 kilometers, 8 kilometers for the US FCC version, the CE versions, which is the conformity European that we sign up to as well here in the UK at the moment, only has 2 kilometer range. Now, we're not suggesting we want to fly our Avatas 2 kilometers away, but if you're flying that indoors or it just goes behind something, that type of thing, then the signal for a lot of people has been deteriorating very, very quickly. Do I think we'll see an adoption where we'll start seeing FCC being normal here? I don't think so. I don't think so. In terms of the whole sort of spectrum and the transmission strengths and that type of thing, there are other things that are being used. There's reasons why CE mode is CE mode here in the UK and Europe, because of the different types of frequencies that are used for different things. And I think it would be quite a major move to see that happen. Whether or not DJI could do something to get more out of CE mode, I'm not sure, because it does seem to be a very big gap between the US and the UK one this time. Normally we'd sort of see between, they would have 12, 14, and we'd have 6 to 8 or something like that. So those signal strengths do seem to be coming down and down. So it would be interesting to see from that point of view as to what would happen. But yeah, I'm not sure. I saw Ian in London's video today where he was testing in the south of France and also had the issue. I find with the Avata on got a CE mode that if it's open airspace, you're fine. The minute you do start going indoors, it can be a little bit trickier. But yeah, it isn't ideal, obviously. And we don't want to see lots of people using FCC hacks to transfer over. Then can something be done in terms of an update? Because I think there's something going on there with the Avata in particular. Because that 2 kilometer is such a weak transmission range to give us, and I just wonder if something's happening there in terms of antennas and everything else that DJI will be able to get to grips with in terms of future updates. It'll be interesting to see for sure. Heinrich, great to see you. There's a question in the chat here. UK member of a flying club and have an Article 16 operational authorization. My question, M3P with battery plus plus flying in the specific category, taking off from back garden, suitable location, question mark. The battery plus, yeah, I mean, Article 16 doesn't count for your back garden. So that's the first thing I would say. Article 16 are for locations specifically used as open leisure and that type of thing. So it's parks, beaches, public areas of that type. The way that the risk assessment, the way that everything works within the Article 16 authorization, it wouldn't actually be usable from a back garden as such. The Mavic 3, so the Mini 3 Pro with the battery plus obviously does go over the 250 gram. So if your back garden is in a congested area, then you could fall foul of that. If you don't have an A2 CofC and you can't maintain the 50-meter separation distances. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I think that the only way that obviously you're going to be able to get around that is by flying the M3, the Mini 3 Pro with the standard battery, keeping it under the 250 personally. That's the only way you can be at 100% certain, as far as I'm concerned. Ellis me saying that the A2 CofC is a great addition to have. Yes, it is indeed. So that's a couple of questions answered. We've got lots more coming when we come back from this. But first of all, I've got a video from Jeremy, one of our regular contributors, also a member of our Discord channel, has a channel called Views of Cornwall, and he produces some absolutely stunning stuff. And here we actually have a video of some gig racing. So enjoy that. Absolutely stunning video. And Jeremy Views of Cornwall is a really talented videographer and somebody that has a lot of time and hours put in with the drone. And if you check out his channel, Views of Cornwall, he's got some absolutely stunning stuff on there, just as great as that. I mean, to be able to capture moving objects, etc., in that way, but still create the storyline and still create the panning shots there at the end, etc., all in one shot, is absolutely fantastic. No sort of jerky movements, etc., that type of thing. So really, really great. Well done, sir. But it is absolutely, it is a stunning one. And yeah, Nick Sand is saying, for giving this video the full airtime and not trimming it down. Yeah, I always try to do that, especially on these shows, if at all possible. Fishing Frustrations UK, a £2 super chat. Cool. Thank you very much. I agree. That was extremely cool. Now, there was a little bit of debate in the chat whilst that was playing regarding my answer on the Article 16 versus A2 CofC, actually. And hopefully, Heinrich, I gave you a clear enough answer to the specific part, as thunder starts roaring over my head, to the specific part of your question regarding a back garden being a suitable location for takeoff, that I personally do not think it is. So hopefully that helped. But it's interesting, actually, because Article 16 versus A2 CofC is one of those questions that often gets people sort of wondering which one is the best and that type of thing. And I honestly think it depends on how you fly, and it depends on what type of flyer you are. If you're flying FPV, if you're an RC flyer, that type of thing, and you tend to go to the same park, the same type of locations, then actually I think Article 16 is very, very handy, because not only do you have the 30-meter separation, which is a bubble, so you can actually fly over people with the Article 16, but of course you have the 15-meter reduced takeoff distance as well with mitigations, so it can be very handy from that point of view. But of course, if you're someone that likes going to different locations, perhaps with camera drones, etc., and getting footage of historic buildings and things like the video that Jeremy just flew there, then of course A2 CofC can help you, or of course the good old DJI Mini range, Mini 2, Mini SE, and the 3 Pro, which of course can get you there anyway without needing the separation. So that's a good one. Okay, up next, another question from the chat, and this one comes from Shane Davies. Hi Shane, thanks for joining us. At Geeksvana, is it true that the UK is using DJI's Aeroscope drone detection system, and that DJI have recently admitted that our data is not encrypted? Thanks for all the great content you provide. Thank you for the question, Shane, and the very kind feedback. I really appreciate it. Yes, it's true that DJI Aeroscope is in full use in the UK, absolutely. You will often find that counter drone companies, so counter UAS service providers, police forces, airports, etc., they won't want to talk about what they're using, perhaps sometimes for obvious reasons. The fact that they don't want to disclose tactics and that kind of thing. If they say, yes, we're watching these kind of drones, anyone with nefarious intentions will go and buy another type of drone. But yes, the DJI drone detection system is there, but you would normally find with a professional deployment of counter UAS that it will cover more than just one drone manufacturer. And yes, there is the issues at the moment rumbling on, looks like the thunder above my head, regarding whether or not that data is actually encrypted. Now, in terms of your data being encrypted and that type of thing, I think that will only become more of a significant issue as and when we ever see a remote ID here in the UK and EU, and there's a whole other thing from that point of view. I don't believe that you're Shane, in flying, that if you come up against somebody with the DJI Aeroscope, that you're particularly in any kind of danger in terms of your data and that type of thing as it stands at the moment, as far as what data your drone puts out. Only that person with the counter drone equipment can obviously tell where you are and can come and have a word with you if they don't like where you're flying and that type of thing, basically. So yes, so that's that one. Alexis, thank you. Member for 14 months. You become a member of the channel from just 99 pence or cents per month, as the Vana Army, I think the opening one is there. Sending much love and some USA cash across the pond. Thank you, Alexis. Been a member for 14 months and a huge supporter of so many drone channels out there, and it's great to see you, frankly. Okay, up next, I've got the next question, which is a preloaded one. This one is actually from Ollie Gould. Now, it says, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to fly from my garden or not, which actually follows almost on from Heinrich's one there. My drone is more than 250 grams, but there is also some woodland behind my garden, so I fly out over the woodland from my garden and avoid going over my neighbour's properties altogether. I'm pretty sure it's okay, as I'm not flying near to anybody but myself and my own property, or over woodland, but these drone rules seem confusing, haha, which I'll come back to that in just a second. But thank you very much, Alexis, for the $50 super chat. It's extremely kind of you, and please, you'll never hear the super chat word coming out of my mouth very much, etc. It's these are hard times for everybody. These are challenging times for everybody, and if you can give, it's always hugely appreciated, but I certainly never expect it, and certainly not at that level. But thank you, Alexis. Thanks for all you do, Sean, in the drone world. Here's some USA cash for some fish and chips and a pint. Well, that's exactly what I will ensure that cash gets spent on, so thank you very much. But yes, Ollie, back to your question. Not sure if he's allowed to fly in his garden or not, and obviously his drone does weigh more than 250 grams, so it depends on whether your garden and your house is within what would be deemed a congested area. Now, just because there's a row of houses doesn't necessarily mean you're automatically in a congested area, but it is important to realize that the entirety of the flight is covered by the rules. So it isn't sort of taking off and then flying into other airspace, which is permitted. So perhaps your garden isn't permitted with over 250 without an A2 CofC and the separations we were talking about. But actually, once you're over the woodland, you're fine. But the problem is that takeoff and landing, which of course can actually be the most the least safe part of a drone flight. Not suggesting that any part of a drone flight isn't safe, but that's very much how it would be looked at, I believe, in terms of enforcement, etc. So I would say, Ollie, you need to be careful there. You need to look at it from the point of view that actually, can you go for a walk and take off from the woodland? I know it's very convenient to take off from our gardens, especially testing things and that type of thing, but can you actually have your takeoff point? Do you have a back gate going out into the woodland, etc.? Can you go out there and gain that bit of distance, basically? So that's an interesting one, which will rumbles on and on, frankly, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of clarity for your particular situation. One Vision Aerial, how is the CAA handling remote ID versus how the FAA in the States is handling it? Well, we're currently going through a bit of a period at the moment where our new drone rules, which came in 2020, are currently being refined a little bit because we've left the EU and the EASA. So we're not part of the EU airspace agreement as such anymore. So it means that we're able to refine the UK drone rules to suit us a little bit better, to suit our small airspace, etc., and the users within it. So we've got some changes coming up, and I would expect remote ID to get dealt with via this next section, actually, Dustin. But it's true as well, actually, that in terms of privacy, we're not going to have the same issue as being able to have the information accessed by the public, certainly not sort of pilot takeoff or anything else like that location. So it'll be interesting to see what actually does happen there. But we've had a few systems come and go. Nothing's actually come into practice. We were going to have it for commercial flights at one point, so people in the specific category, but then that sort of got removed in one of the reviews, and everything is pretty much being reviewed at the moment, even the types of drones we can fly and where. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I think that will actually come out of the back of that, essentially. Okay, so up next, we're going to look at another viewer video, and this one is Chris from Aerial Imagery, who's put together, his friend is basically, or was doing a team row, so it's more people rowing in boats across the Atlantic, and this is actually Chris filming some of their preparations. And to me, this is a really good example of turning something which is, you'll see as fairly mundane things happening, but using a drone cleverly and using the angles that you can gain from that drone, etc. You can really get some pretty amazing footage from it. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you edit a drone video. Frankly, superb. Everything there in terms of matching the shots to the beat of the music, building up the excitement, etc. Getting all the information out there as well. Hope you don't mind that I didn't clip those parts out. It's always important. You never know who may want to go along and give to the charity that's watching, etc. as well. But absolutely fantastic for a great cause as well. So Drones for Good there, 110%. So as 107 Drones says, bravo. What drone was that, Wayne B? I don't know. I know Chris is a professional. I know that aerial imagery is his business. So I'm not entirely sure which drone he was using on that one. I would assume something fairly decent, looking at the shots he gained. But again, you know, the Mini 3 could probably get something similar to that these days, couldn't it? Okay, up next on the questions from the viewers. Piccadilly Line asked of my Mini 3 versus the UK drone rules video. Drone license and flyer ID, it's a joke. Knowing nothing about the subject, took the test and passed. Moneymaker for the UK government, but will read and learn. Now, it hasn't necessarily raised a specific question, but it's raised a point that I wanted to make here, really, that don't look at the flyer ID, as I explained in that video and all of my UK drone rules videos, don't look at the flyer ID as something which is going to necessarily teach you something, that's something that's necessarily going to make you a better drone pilot or flyer. Really, the flyer ID and you having to pass that test, which you have to get 30 out of 40 multiple choice questions correct. All of the answers are actually in the website, the same website, so you can look around for them. And they really want to know that you know the basics of the basics knowledge in terms of FRZs and that type of thing. Where that obviously situation helps is in terms of enforcement. So if the police come up to you and you've got a flyer ID and your operator ID, etc., and you're flying blatantly outside of the UK drone rules, well, you've just passed a test. You've just signed up to something which is telling them that actually you should know those rules, that you've signed to say that you do know those rules and that you'll follow them. So it isn't really, in my opinion, the operator ID is literally just giving your information across and verifying that you're responsible for the drone, so that you know that even if someone else is flying it, you still have responsibilities. And actually the flyer ID is ensuring that you can be traced as an individual, and that you have some accountability in terms of saying that you know what the rules are. Not necessarily going to teach you something. I would recommend, Piccadilly Line, that you look at something like the A2 CofC, which will give you a bit more knowledge, as you need to spend a bit more to gain that qualification. But yeah, that's really not going to enhance your drone training as such, in my opinion. And actually, I do have a video coming up talking about this, because I don't think the level of drone training in the UK is at the level it should be at all. I don't think we're making a future crop of aspiring professional pilots or qualified amateur pilots really out there that are going to be able to take these drones forward, frankly. So yes, so that's that particular question, or that particular point rather. Glisser 301, which is on the same video, just the video I needed. Thank you for that. No, thank you for watching it, Gileser. One question, for earning money, I heard that I need commercial insurance, but do I need any further training? No, you don't need any further training in terms of the actual requirements. In the UK, we've now removed the requirement for a separate professional qualification to fly drones. Instead, now it's about the risk assessment, so the risk of that flight. So, for instance, with just the Mini 3 and with an operator ID, and having read the manual and having commercial EC compliant insurance, you can then actually start to operate. One of the things you need to bear in mind about it, however, is that there's a lot of other things around running a business. So you need to think about things like public liability insurance, the health and safety of the operation. There's a lot of other regulations in running a business, particularly one that's based outside. If you're out there doing something for a commercial reason, there's lots of other liability. There's lots of other things which you need to consider and take into account. So no, you don't need, but I would recommend that perhaps you take at least the A2 CofC to give yourself a little bit of knowledge. The GVC, the General Visual Line of Sight qualification, you may think is, to fly a Mini 3 is ludicrous, but actually, again, it can give you a lot more information. It just depends on where you want to stop in terms of finance as well. Thank you very much, Alexis, after blowing me away with a $50 super chat. You now give me a $100 super chat, as well as being a member for 14 months. So I really do appreciate it. And she says, Sean, here's a bit of USA cash just because the exchange rate going from that direction is so weak. Whatever is left after the exchange rate and YouTube taking their cut, just use it to bless your personal life. Much love, my friend. And thank you, Alexis. I really appreciate it. And Alexis, I want to spend some time with you at some point, either video call or when I'm over in the States next, because I have a feeling you're an incredibly interesting person. And yeah, I've got a feeling I'd really like to find out a bit more about your manned aviation side and that type of thing, actually. So perhaps a live stream on your own channel or something. So yeah. Okay, up next. This is from WZ Burn, which is something raised on the remote ID will fail video. How do you install it on old drones? Example, the Mavic Air and Spark. Well, Whizburn, I'm going to call you. You will be able to, from next year, there will be remote ID modules, which hopefully will be fairly cost effective. Time will tell on that. We've still got some time in terms of those being released about this time next year. And you will have to install one of these remote ID modules onto the drone. So there will be one that will be sold specifically for DJI drones and will have to come into contact with the battery there and that type of thing. There's certain set specifications as far as the ASTM on it. But yes, so that will come in time, basically. So you have to wait and see on that one. Taking one from the chat, Aaron Parecki. Hi, Aaron. Great to see you. Hope you're well. Do you think typical drones will have different remote ID configurations you'll be able to switch to when you fly in different countries, pilot location being one of the main toggles? Yeah, I don't think so. It's an interesting one, because what I actually believe is the same information will be broadcast, Aaron, whether you're here in the UK, across the EU, or in the States. What I think will be the difference is how that data is then used by the, I don't want to say app, but by the end user. So certainly here in the EU and the UK, it's only intended for law enforcement to be able to check, is that drone flying legally and that type of thing, and then find their location. It's all slightly moot from the point of view that, especially with DJI, the counter drone tech can already tell where you are and that type of thing. So often law enforcement and authorities, airports, etc., can tell exactly where you're stood and see where your drone is separately. That's up to something like a 25-mile radius right now. But no, I don't think it would be different. I think it will be the same DJI update, but there might be tweaks. Now, the same as you might have a situation the same as at the moment, all of the, if you go back, there were separate DJI drones released for the UK, EU, and as in UK and EU and the United States, and they were either FCC or CE models and that type of thing. And you'd sometimes actually have problems of, if you bought one over there and brought it over here, you would have problems getting it to work. But now it's all the same. They're all the same drone, and the CE FCC part is actually completely dealt with via firmware rather than hardware. So you're basically looking at a situation where the drone recognizes where it is and switches across. So for instance, DJI have now got the C1 label marking for the Mavic 3, which will work in the EU countries but not the UK, but the drone will automatically know when it turns on there that it needs that update. So you might find something like that happens DJI specific, but in terms of the modules, etc., and that type of thing, of course, if it's an older drone, it will have a module on, so you just take that off and fly. If it is a newer drone and it's not DJI, then I think it will still transmit the same data, but the end user will be able to use that data differently. I hope that's at least a little bit clear, and comes some way to answer your question, Aaron. But thank you very much for popping in. It's great to see you, sir. I hope you're very well. Alexis telling us that her avatar will arrive tomorrow. That's fantastic. It's an amazing drone, Alexis, so you should have a lot of fun with that, frankly. Okay, should we do another viewer video? Then we'll come back and do another pre-question. This one is actually from David from DWK Drones. And this is actually from a trip that he took to Iceland, which is showing some awesome footage of a bridge over there, actually. Enjoy. really great video there from David at DWK Drones, who's in the chat actually. Hi David, hope you're well. One of the things I love about the viewer video side of things that we've put out over the last couple of years since we've started showing viewer videos is actually looking at people's development, and people like David who've really moved forward with their editing and everything else like that, use of music, color grading, etc. It's fantastic. It's great to see people really move forward in the hobby and indeed profession as well. So it's really, really great. Thank you for letting us share that. I really do appreciate it. Okay, up next we have, if I find the right one, this is actually a bit of a double bubble. And this, because this is a question which has been asked an awful lot recently. And first up comes from Lee. Hi Sean, have you seen the latest from the EU and the CE marking? Hopefully the UK will follow suit, question mark. The DJI Mavic 3 has just been given a significant certificate which will loosen the restrictions on where you can fly the drone in the EU, and other DJI drones are likely to follow suit. Exactly, Lee. And Jan Tessier also looks at from the point of view of what's to stop the UK commissioning TUV Rhineland from certifying it for use under CAA rules. After all, if those nice new Brexit passports are printed in France, it can't be impossible to get a German engineer to certify a drone to nearly identical specs. And it's an interesting one here because, of course, we have two systems here in the EU, in the EASA member states, and the UK. Although the UK adopted the rules, there are differences. It is a very separate system, which is why our operator IDs and our A2 CofCs can't be used over there and vice versa, etc. Although a lot of things are called very similar names, they're not, and they cannot be used. At the moment here in the UK, as far as I'm aware, it would not be possible to do this. Now, interestingly, I have got a couple of questions on this into the CAA, and I haven't had answers back yet. They've come back to me very kindly to say they're looking into things, but I don't think there's anything there to get excited about. As far as I'm concerned, the fact that they've now put the recommendations forward to the DFT to say that they want to revise and have a look again at C label system for the UK to see if there's a better system makes me think that we're going to have to wait and go through that process now. There isn't the correct bodies in place, the correct monitoring body and that type of thing. So the legal infrastructure hasn't been put into place. The EASA, the EU are further ahead than us in terms of actually having at least someone like TUV Rhineland approved and appointed. So it's a difficult one. I also don't know whether or not this is quite as clean cut even for the EU and for EASA as it seems as well. So I think there's more to this story coming, and I think we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But yeah, personally, I'm not entirely sure how that's actually going to end up looking, basically, frankly, because it's a frustration, isn't it? Because, of course, we're floating along here in the UK with the transition period technically at the moment ending at the end of the year. As we know from previous videos here on Geeksvana and interviews with the CAA, they have, after the public consultation, recommended that transition period be extended indefinitely, but also that the C label system be reviewed. Now, that's, of course, means that they're not sat there about to appoint someone like TUV Rhineland, etc., to allow that C1 marking to be used here in the UK. And these things take a lot of time. I mean, if you think about how long ago now it was that the recommendation was put up to the DFT, we still haven't heard anything, and that's, you know, in legislation terms, that isn't a particularly long period of time, and we're going to have to wait a bit longer, unfortunately, to even find out if we're going to have that transition period extended, which of course we will have to, because the mechanisms aren't there, and I presume they've stopped working on appointing those mechanisms as well once they've made those recommendations. So it's a little bit of a grey area at the moment. It's a bit of a messy area, as Gary from Drone and Sundry saying, gun and jumped, I believe, because there's one point, let me remove the top one at least, there's one thing that they haven't talked about within the DJI press releases and the Rhineland press releases as well, is actually how the drones are going to be marked. If you remember from my interviews with Jonathan Nicholson in particular from the CAA, he was talking about there needing to be an etched label on there, almost certainly something that can't be sold on eBay for someone just to stick a C2 label, C1 label on their drone. It needs to be something that they have reliability and that they have confidence, is the word he used. They have full confidence in, that is authentic when a police officer or the CAA look at a drone and they see that label on there, look at me mimicking picking up a drone, whether or not they have confidence that that drone is real and that label's real rather, and it hasn't just been bought from eBay, etc. Now, that part in the DJI press releases was actually stated that there's more information to follow. So it's going to be interesting to see how that actually works out and what actually happens in the end, but we'll have to wait and see from that point of view. Whilst we're talking actually, and whilst Drone and Sundry's in the chat, Gary, head over to his channel, Drone and Sundry. There is a live stream there every Tuesday evening, which is also frequented by another gentleman in the chat, Bruce from XJet, along with Ian from Mads Tech. So quite a few of the names that you know that have been on the channel here, and names that I know all of us respect within the industry. Has a great live stream every Tuesday evening, and it's really it's a relaxed chat about what's happening in the drone world that week, but again with heavyweights like XJet and Ian Madtech and Gary himself. It's a fantastic watch. I watch it every week. I'm in the live chat every week, and it often gives you a different perspective, especially with the depth of knowledge that Gary, the host, has. And Drone and Sundry is actually the YouTube channel of suasnews.com. So that gives you some sort of idea of the weight behind that particular channel in terms of knowledge, etc. And as Gary says, yeah, that old NZ guy especially, yeah, Bruce does know a thing or two, doesn't he, frankly? Okay, more questions coming up next. Remember, if you do have any questions for me, channel, anything at all, drone, UK drone rules, drones, etc., tag at Geeksvana in the chat and we'll go through those. Got a few more to run through of the preloaded ones as well. But up next, we'll talk about another viewer video here. And this is actually Dominic, one of our viewers from Melbourne in Australia. And he goes by the name of Northside Hawk. And this is looking at a video of his 4 passions. Enjoy. Fantastic video there from Dominic from Northside Hawk down in Melbourne, Australia. And thank you for sending that in, Dominic. I've seen some really different types of video on the show tonight. If you want your video featured in the future, it's video@geeksvana.com is the email address to send your link to. There is a link, or there should be a link in the description below or beside wherever YouTube is put in the description these days on your particular device. I'm still hearing the rumblings of thunder, so I'm very pleased, touch wood, that we're fully on the air. We do come to you via Starlink. which we had installed in the studio. Yeah, I'm very happy to say that currently I think it's holding up. I don't think we've had too many poor any particular dropouts. I've noticed a couple of things flicker whilst things are actually whilst we've had videos playing out, but nothing too bad there. Big Bear Mark, hi Mark, one of our channel members and a big supporter of the channel. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. I'm saying hi Sean, hi Mark, really kind of you. Thank you very much, sir. And thank you again for everybody's support this evening. It's been overwhelming, frankly. I really do appreciate it. And I will be doing more of these sort of more relaxed Q&A chats. So if you do, as a viewer of the channel, you think, oh, I want to ask Sean something, keep an eye out for the next one of these, which will be coming up. Nick Sanders, talking of Starlink, any guesses when we'll see Starship fly? And will it be SLS? Roll on floor laughing. Yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling, I can't decide, Nick, whether Starship is, and the timings with Starship is political or just safety or just progress, or it's very hard to see between the public relations and the media blast that happens, the political side of things, and quite rightly the correct regulation that these things have to adhere to for even things like tests, etc. So I'm not sure. And will it beat SLS? Don't know. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting few months for sure. And Fly Sky Drones, Tony, hi Tony, good to see you. Thunderstorms in Berkshire. I'm actually seeing Tony later this week. We are at DroneX. Tony's joining the Geeksvana team to help us film and record a few of the interviews there, etc. It'll be a full team down there. We're at stall number G42, booth number, stall number. So do come along and see us at DroneX on Wednesday or Thursday if you are in the area of London XL. You can still get free tickets if you go to the droneexpo.com website. So yeah, come and join us. But I'll be seeing you then, Tony, obviously. Okay, next question is Paisley Skidmore. Again, this one's from our UK Drone Rules in 8 minutes video. So I've got this correct. In order to fly a mini drone, all I need is an operator ID number. Thanks. Well, as far as the rules are concerned, the mini drone, the DJI mini drone is of course a sub 250 gram drone, as long as you haven't put anything onto it, because it does depend on the takeoff mass. So there isn't much to play with some of the mini models in terms of extra weight. So be careful as far as add-ons and, you know, putting wraps on it and lights and everything else like that people can, even those little weird motor covers that make the motors overheat. But anyway, people do put weird and wonderful things on their drones. So depending and assuming that your drone is still below 250 grams as a DJI mini, then you do only require the operator ID and to read and understand the manual. It's a strange one because you don't need the flyer ID, and you're right on the cusp there. If it was over 250, you'd need the flyer ID as well. I always recommend people to take the flyer ID from the point of view that it does give you a little bit of backup in terms of the knowledge. But, you know, it's completely up to you whether or not you think it would be a worthwhile thing. But yes, certainly as far as what you need, Paisley, that's it. Just the operator ID and read the manual. And then you're good to go as a hobbyist. But again, there's no direct. But if you are a hobbyist, you're good to go, certainly. So yes, Paul, good to see you. Am I saying the right name? Paul, Steel City drone pilot. Is it Paul, or have I just completely renamed you? But in any case, it's good to see you. I hope you're well. Fantastic couple of videos over on the Steel City Drone Pilot channel recently, actually. I'd recommend that you hop over and have a look at that, especially the one where he's chasing a dirt bike, a stunt bike, through the big top of a circus with a sub 250 gram. Actually, I'm not sure if it was certainly a very cool little cine whoop. So yeah, go over and take a look. Yeah, it is Paul. Good, excellent. Do you know, it's one of those nights, Paul, where I'm starting to put different names to the things. X-Jet's called Simon, right? Shane Davis, £5 super chat. Thank you very much. Thanks for a great show. No, thank you, Shane. I appreciate it. I've really enjoyed being able to just sit and chat with you guys rather than having to blast through a particular topic, which is always important, of course. And I will always want to bring you the latest and greatest details of what's happening in the drone world. But it's also nice to kick back and me actually be able to stop and look at what's actually happening in the chat, etc., which is fantastic. Next question is from Grumble Woof, an awesome username there. Interesting. In the UK, do you think we'll have drone ID that is broadcast? Do DJI drones like the Mini 3 already have this feature? Yes, we touched on this a little bit earlier with someone's question, Aaron's question, in the live chat. And yeah, if you have a DJI drone, I would have thought future remote ID, unless it changes dramatically in terms of what should be happening and what is being planned to happen here in the UK, I would have thought the firmware update, etc., and pretty much almost existing tech within the DJI drones will satisfy that. So I don't expect that we're going to have to need add-on modules and that type of thing. Although, you know, rewind this video in 2 years' time, and I might be telling you something completely different. So we don't know yet. Grumble Woof would be the final answer to that one, but hopefully we should know quite soon. Okay, do you want to see another drone video? Do you want to see another awesome viewer video? This one is coming up from Steve from Lowry Dronography, which is a Saturday evening sunset, which I love the sunsets. There's so many people like Max Air 420 and so many of the community that are out there capturing often live sunsets actually as well. But this particular one is actually shot with a Mini 3 Pro, so enjoy. Absolutely superb, and thank you again for Steve from Lowry Dronography for sending that one in, which is again a Saturday evening sunset shot with the Mini 3 Pro. So a really great little drone, it has to be said. Some stunning footage, really well edited again. So yeah, thank you, Steve. It's superb. It's great to see these viewer videos, and so happy to be able to share them out. video@geeksvana.com is the email address to send yours into if you want to be included in this type of show in the future. And as you've seen, we like to share as many wide variety as possible. Beginners, advanced, and anyone is welcome. Whether or not you can edit or not is you know, it's the fact that you're out there enjoying your drone is the most important thing, and you'd like to share that with others frankly, which is the cool part of it. Ramdonko asked a question in the chat. Heard 2 drones were seized at the air show on Saturday, but haven't learnt any more at Geeksvana. Yes, and there is, of course, that very famous clip now with the which Dorset police have been sharing. Devon or Dorset, is that anyway? Yes, it's basically we had there a chap flying the drone on the beach that was approached by officers and asked to land. The details obviously are always, of course, when these things have just happened, are very, very limited, so we don't have too many details. All that we do know is, as you've said in your comment, that have been a couple of drones taken, and it will be they are waiting to see if further action will be taken as far as prosecutions, etc., are concerned. So it'll be an interesting one to see whether or not that happens. Warrior Scott, Geeksvana, will you be speaking to DFT at DroneX when they are there? I'll certainly be trying, yes. I am speaking to the CAA whilst they're there, and quite a few other people, and you never know, frankly. We have a few chats with a few people booked in. Similar to last year, many of them won't actually make it on air immediately, but we're hoping to make a few more connections to really try and bed in and get you as much information as far as what's happening here in the UK on the drone regulation side particularly. But yes, and I'll also be bringing updates on things like Mark Worry, who is the head of the RPAS side of things over at the CAA. He's making a keynote speech, and I'll certainly be bringing you the highlights as far as what I pick up from that. And really, I think DroneX is going to be important from the point of view of the speeches that are happening, the talks that are happening, in terms of trying to gain a particular sense of what's coming. I have some views on that and the future of the urban air mobility side of things, and how that may put a bit of more of a cloud over the UK drone side of things. But I'm yet to be convinced either way as far as what direction that we're currently going in, because there's so much up in the air at the moment again, frankly. Yes, Dominic Northside Hawk, someone told me that you shared my video. Big thanks, Sean. No problem. Thank you for sending it in, Dominic, and thank you for being a great supporter of the channel. I really do appreciate it, and thank you everybody. We've got a great number of people in for what is just a chill out on a Monday evening, so I really do appreciate it. Welsh lad, great to see you. Hope you're well. At Geeksvana, I don't want my drone and myself from being tracked. So what happens if I don't upgrade the firmware? Well, this isn't coming, so don't worry. From the UK point of view, we are talking about something that could or couldn't happen. We're going to need remote ID at some point, but they can't even sort out C labels properly yet, and now they want to investigate the open category. So I don't think it's going to be an immediate issue for us, certainly not the kit we've got now. In terms of if it was in place, well, then if there was a requirement for remote ID and you just didn't update and you flew the drone, then you would be in breach of the drone regulations. And the issue there, of course, is that the counter UAS system can potentially still see you, but it can see that you're not transmitting a remote ID signal, be that through the firmware, however it happens. Then, of course, they still know where you are. You're going to be seen. But here in the UK and the EU, we have very different rules in terms of privacy. So I do not think we're going to see a situation where we're going to have the public seeing where we are or anything else like that, Welsh lad. So hopefully that will help you from that point of view. And yes, Tony Fly Sky Drones UK saying feel free to join the Geeksvana Discord channel. It's fantastic. Thank you, Tony. It is a cool place to hang out, actually. It's a very relaxed place. Lots of drone enthusiasts in there from the FPV and camera drone side of things. What I actually like is a lot of those sides are helping each other, particularly the FPV guys in our Discord channel have been extremely helpful to all of us camera drone guys who have been venturing into FPV a little bit more with the Avata, answering lots of questions, etc. So join the Discord. Why it's coming apart, it is sometimes with some of the gifts that come up on there. So yeah, I have to say. Excellent. Well, that's basically it for this evening. Thank you very much for joining me. I really, really do appreciate it, for taking your time out. And it's been a very consistent, great number of people in here tonight. So thank you. Have a fantastic week. I will be coming to you from DroneX on Wednesday and Thursday. I'm playing with what I'm going to do in terms of how we're going to get the content out there. Last year we live streamed on both days, but I actually found an issue there from the point of view that it ended up just being me like this talking with a wall behind me with my guests. And really this time what I might be doing is getting out and getting a lot more interviews, getting a lot more data, letting you guys see the cool drones and UAM stuff, etc. that's being talked about at the show as a premiere on each evening. So I'm playing with that a little bit, but keep an eye out on Geeksvana for notifications of shows on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday from DroneX, because that's when we'll be releasing the content. Excellent. Okay. Thanks again, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much to those generous people providing super chats. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Mark, as well, Big Bear. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for being here. I'll see you next time on Geeksvana Live. Bye-bye.